the host, guests, and call-in participants. These do not necessarily represent the views of this show's distributors or sponsors. This program may contain obscene, profane, or otherwise objectionable language. Viewer discretion is advised. Howdy, hello, everybody. Coming to you cordless once again from glamorous Minneapolis. It's Monday night. No, it's Tuesday night. What am I talking about? It's Tuesday night, August 25th, 2026. I am Jim Peters. Welcome to another edition of Jim Peters at Night. This is show number 380, if you're keeping score at home. Gregory Whitestone has been on this program before. Matter of fact, I think this is his third appearance. He's a geologist, and he's the senior fellow at the CO2 Coalition in Arlington, Virginia. He's also an expert reviewer for the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, and his latest book is called "A Very Convenient Warming: How Modest Warming and More CO2 Are Benefiting Humanity." And if you watched this show before, you know that climate change is a big deal with me because it's basically kind of crap, and that's the reason I like talking to Gregory. And he joins us from his home in Apollo Beach, Florida, where he just explained to me there's no beach.
Yeah, it's a marketing ploy, Jim. Apparently it worked. I'm living here. Hey, it was kind of like in my book, A Very Convenient Warming. I talk about how Eric the Red sailed west from Iceland and discovered this new land, and he called it Greenland, right? And that was a marketing ploy. If he called it the land of ice and rocks, when he got back to Iceland, none of his buddy Vikings would have come back with him. So it was a marketing ploy. It worked for him, and apparently it's worked for Apollo.
Well,
it's lovely.
Gregory, I've always said here in Minnesota, I've said if the Norwegians came here in July, because if they come in January, they wouldn't have stayed. You know?
There is that.
So how's things with you, and how's things with the CO2 Coalition? Fighting the good fight, huh?
Oh, we are. Yeah. I'm really proud. I stepped down in April. I was executive director after 5+ years leading this group. We just have had explosive growth. People are just loving our message and part of it is we've got 200+ of the top scientists in the world, Nobel laureates, some of the top. We've got Patrick Moore sits on our board. He was a co-founder of Greenpeace.
He's been on the show.
Yeah, he's great. And so we stick to the science. We're the preeminent scientific organization that's out there pushing back against the notion of a climate crisis.
And let me ask you about this, because this was actually the first question I came up with, and that is, it does seem like finally the press and even the press is finally coming around to the fact that this human caused climate change thing is bogus. I mean, is that what you read too?
Yeah, I don't know if you're familiar with Steve Koonin. He'd be great to have on your show, but he wrote the book Unsettled. He was in our office here a few months ago, and with Dr. William Happer, our chair, and we talked about just this. And I like what he has to say. He said, it's felt the last 12 or 15 years that we had the wind in our face. We had a gale force wind blowing in our face. Now it feels like the wind is at our backs.
Yeah.
And I liked how he described that. It really feels that way. I see a great turnaround in this country from just about everybody I talk to, random people. I travel a lot. I'm in restaurants, flights, and I just talk to random people, and I'm not shy about what I talk about.
So do I.
And so I find people are thirsty for this information when they find this out. They want to learn more, and they're all very accepting. There was, Saturday night, there was a guy that, it turned out he worked for NOAA, and his wife, they were like giving me the side eye. But other than them, it's just almost consistently everybody is welcoming this information that we're providing. They've never heard it before, and we provide the science, the facts, and the data that allows you and your viewers to fight back against this. My first book, Inconvenient Facts, provided that, and this new book, A Very Convenient Warming, it goes a little bit further in telling the story of how life is good and getting better because of modest warming and more CO2. And if it was a Christmas message, I would be on your show telling you, I bring you glad tidings of great joy of a prospering of the ecosystems and a thriving of the improving of the human condition. It's a great story. It's I call it the greatest untold story of the 21st.
Yeah, well, and Gregory, I mean, my thing is that this climate change thing has been basically the single biggest grift ever propagated on the American public, and it's been. And so you were talking about your first book, Inconvenient Facts. This is the 20th anniversary of Al Gore's film, Inconvenient Truth, and basically every single thing presented in that book or that movie turned out to be wrong.
Yeah.
So my question to you, and I've asked other people this before, and this is not a loaded question, I actually don't know the answer. Is Gore just a liar, or is he really stupid?
He might be both. I think that's the answer. It's both. He's recognized there's a lot of money to be made in this.
Oh, he made a fortune off this. He made an absolute fortune off this whole thing.
And if you look at it, the only science course he took in college, he got a D.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so there's a little factoid you can file away. That's one more course than Greta Thunberg though has. So,
yeah, that's true.
He's got a leg up on her there. At least he went to class. And I don't know. It's hard to tell. People always ask me. One of the questions I'm always asked is, basically, is why are they lying to us? And I can't. As a scientist, I can't see inside men's and women's souls to see what their motivation is. But I can, as a scientist, it's our job, for me and my colleagues at the CO2 Coalition, it's our job to say, okay, this is what they're telling you, and this is what the science is. This is what the facts and the science tell us. And almost consistently, it's completely at odds with what the climate industrial complex are telling you. That's it's when I first wrote my first book, it was really it was an exploration for the truth that I did, looking back at the data to find out what's actually going on. And it angered me what I found.
I will speculate here, and of course that's what I do here. This is all speculation. But it seems to me that the reason that climate industrial complex exists is simply to get money out of the public. It was just someone came up with this idea that there would be a great way to tell the public. And of course, doom and gloom sells, it just does. The sky is falling, give us money to push it back up,
Yeah. I think there are a lot of people doing that. I think there are some true believers that, we'll talk a little bit about these fires.
No, I do too. I think you're right. There are some people who still hold on to this is happening, right?
And I can't blame some of them because that's all they've heard. They've never been exposed to this, the information, it's the truth, the facts, and the science and the data that we provide. And so some of these people I can't. And that's why you have these people that are out there setting fires and arson in France. They arrested nearly 500 people from one story I wrote for setting fire. And what do they want to do? They want to make the climate change more dangerous. Look at this. It's we've never had fires like this before. Well, yeah, quit setting them. Yeah, maybe they'll stop, or at least not have as many. You ever think about that? Numb nuts.
No, I know. It's crazy.
These dimwits are out there. Well, there's so many fires. Well, yeah, you set them. And so we have some of these people just are just, they've never heard. And, we'll talk a little bit about, if I had to give, for example, if I had to give climate change hero of 21st century and the award out, I'd give it to Anthony Fauci for that. Because what did Anthony Fauci do for climate change? He showed us all during COVID, didn't he, that experts often are wrong. Experts often lie to us. Experts often make money of what they're trying to promote. and we can't trust the experts. Before COVID, I think it was just a huge percentage of people that said, "Well, these are the experts. I'm going to trust them." I bet it was over 90% of the people believed and trusted in experts. What is it now? It's got to be less than 50%.
Yeah,
But we saw the same situation in COVID is what we're seeing in climate change, but it's in spades. It's my Lord, the lies. In COVID, it was masks, distancing, get the jab, you won't get COVID. And this, we can go through a laundry list of 25 or 30 things they're lying to you about.
right.
Yeah. And it's a lot. COVID was bad for the economy on so many levels, but climate change, what they're trying to do, thankfully it's being rolled back by the Trump administration, they were going to spend trillions of dollars a year to solve a non-existent crisis.
Yeah.
It would have devastated our economy. It's already hurt, but we're rolling a lot of that back.
Well, I think I told you this maybe the last time you were on here. It's been a while, so you probably don't remember. And like you mentioned before we started, I had Patrick Moore on the show. It is still the single most watched episode of the show ever. And the thing is, 2 weeks after that, and I had to text Patrick and tell him the United Nations put a page up on their website that said, and they took it down. I grabbed it. I still have it. They said we can solve the climate change problem for $75 trillion. They wanted $75 trillion to solve the climate crisis.
Okay, I'll tell you what. I'll do it for $65 trillion. Save you $10 trillion.
That's right.
Put it in your hip pocket, I'll do it for $65 trillion.
Yeah, you will.
And then at the end they go, "Well, you didn't solve it." Well, I'm sorry. It didn't work out. But oh my goodness. It's been Patrick Moore's wonderful. He hired me. He was our current chairman, Will Happer, went and joined the Trump administration for a year. And during that time, Patrick stepped in as chair, and he actually had the good sense to hire an unproven geologist in Gregory Wrightstone as to lead the group. And I haven't looked back. It's been we've when I took over, we had 145 donors. Today we've got over 22,000.
That's amazing. That's incredible.
And it's these are all individual small family foundations, and it's allowed. But what this has done is allowed me and us, the CO2 Coalition, to do some of the things we'll talk about today. 15 employees. There were 2 when I started. We had such a tiny budget, and now we've got the budget that we can. We'll talk about some of the things that we're still actually the budget this year for us is we're still underwater, but we're doing great, and people are just loving the very missions that we're on in terms of what we're doing legally, education. Books that are going out are scientific.
Yeah, let's talk about the education aspect, because I mean the problem, as I'm not alone in this. Everyone seems to think we're no longer teaching our kids in the United States how to think. We're teaching them what to think.
I'm looking around here for my latest, my first children's book. It was Chloe the Clownfish Sleeps Well.
Yeah,
and so what we did back in 2022, we had members that came to me and said, "Greg, our grandchildren and great-grandchildren are being indoctrinated into this climate cult. They're being taught groupthink and consensus science. They're not being taught the scientific method or critical thinking skills. Let's do something." And man, we formed an education committee that, a lot of committees, you form them and they, don't get anything done. Well, this one took off. And so we did a whole series, our first series of 5 books, and that are highly illustrated. I've got a full-time illustrator, artist in Brazil, Tiago Hellinger da Silva, that's just so talented. So he illustrates our books, our videos, and each one of these has lesson plans that go along with it. I hired Dr. Sharon Camp as our senior education advisor. She's a PhD analytic chemistry. She was an AP science teacher and reader. So she's an actual scientist that are creating our lesson plans. And then the scientists vet the lesson plans to make sure they're correct. So we're getting the right stuff out there. I've got
Gregory, let me ask you though, when you push this stuff out to the education community, what is their response?
Homeschooling communities love it. Charter schools are accepting of it. We went to 5 conventions this summer. 4 of them were homeschooling conventions, and the homeschooling parents we provide our materials free of charge. That's our mission. We want to get this material into the hands of homeschooling parents, which is, it's been just skyrocketing. All of my grandchildren are homeschooled, and they love my first book was Chloe the Clownfish Sleeps Well. And of course,
that did pretty well too, didn't it?
Yeah, and my oldest granddaughter's named Chloe, so she's just
that's cool.
She's very proud of that.
Yeah,
and she went to a convention with me and sat there and signed books, Chloe, and people loved it. And so what we do, these lesson plans, it's on our standalone website. The website is co2learningcenter.com, co2learningcenter.com. It's a wonderful experience. And again, it's free materials for download. Schools call up, I've got 32 students and okay, we'll send you 32 books. We don't send them the lesson plans because they're downloadable on a PDF.
Yeah.
Go get the PDF and print them out on your printer. And they're great lesson plans. I'm going through one on electricity right now that's extensive. It's great. And I just talked to my daughter about this. I'm going to send her the lesson plan because it's got some great things for our.
Well, I'm curious, what about electricity specifically is in this?
Well, they can learn, for example, we just did a chart. We took a look at California, electricity, the various types of electricity. They're really promoting solar. And so what we said was, okay, take a piece of chalk and mark on that chalk your shadow on put where you're going to stand, and through the day every hour mark a chalk where the shadow of the top of your head is, and they can see how the shadow lengthens and grows. They understand that the solar at the beginning and end of the day is indirect. It's not direct. And at noon around noon, it's pretty direct. And then we also, we can do this through the year to show, what we did was, one of the charts I showed the 7 shortest days of the year and how much solar electricity was generated in California, and then the 7 longest days of the year and how much solar energy was. And they can go and look at that and say, oh yeah, the shortest days of the year in December, it was very, very, very much less electricity being generated from solar. So they can understand then that, things like that. Or there's so much that goes into it, and they can make their own electromagnet using a battery and some wire around use a AA or a couple AA batteries to make their own electromagnet. And there's so much in there.
So you're basically just showing, my position has always been solar power isn't bad, but you can't rely on it as a primary source. That's basically what you're doing.
Yeah. I'm not so sure that it isn't bad because of just because of the huge amount of area that's required to generate a small amount of electricity.
Yeah.
And also the components in it.
Right. That's the thing I've always thought.
What are you going to do? They're going to need to be replaced in 20 years.
Right.
What are you going to do with them? They're not recyclable. They're not very conducive to put in landfills.
I know.
And
you have a point there. That's true. And also, people have to know that. You're absolutely right. It's the rare earth metals involved in it that are really kind of terrible.
And you look who's mining them and where they're being mined. It's just horrible environmental conditions and the conditions that of these people, the 12-year-old boys use to mine cobalt in the Congo.
They're basically slaves.
And the other thing is too, if you look at endangered species or extinctions, they always talk about, oh, extinctions. We're in the sixth great extinction. No, we're not. No, we're not. We're doing a really good job preserving our endangered species. But the one thing they do get right is they say, well, the greatest threat to endangered species is loss of habitat. I agree with that. And that's true.
Yeah.
Well, what's their solution to solve a non-existent problem? Pave over, cover tens of thousands of acres or square miles of the United States and the world with solar panels.
Yeah.
You know, cover up grasslands and farmlands and cut down.
But I'm betting you agree with me on this, and that is wind is a complete utter joke. You know, you can make some, or I can make some justification for solar power, even though I agree with all the points you just made up. The wind thing is it's just asinine.
Yeah. It only works when the wind blows.
No shit.
Yeah. It can't blow too hard. It
kill millions of birds. It's like they're machines. They don't, it's like they're highly temperamental. It's like there's nothing about this that's positive. It's like, I don't understand.
Yeah. When I've talked with people, I said, well, it kills birds. And they go, well, yeah, but house cats and feral cats kill 20 or 30 times as many birds as wind turbines. And I go, yeah, but the birds they're killing are like golden eagles, bald eagles, raptors. And I say, if you've got a cat in the house that can kill a golden eagle, I'd keep your grandkids away from it. Right?
Yeah, right.
I tell you what, though, I bought my wife a Maine Coon that's going to be able to take down a golden eagle pretty soon. He's 7 months old, and he's sitting around here.
He's the size of a small car.
Oh my God, he might show up here any moment because he has a habit of walking across in front of me during interviews.
Yeah,
he's huge. It's 7 months old.
Right, I know.
Oh my Lord,
they're incredible animals. They are. Yeah. I know. I'm a cat lover too. I have them. So.
But the Maine Coons are giants.
Yeah,
they're called a gentle giant. And,
hey, tell me about this endangerment finding thing. We were talking about this before we started, and I've heard about this, but I don't really know the details. I don't know if our viewers have either.
Yeah, in 2008, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled a case before it was Massachusetts v. EPA, and they said the EPA has the right to go ahead. It was a really bad ruling, but they said the EPA has the right to regulate carbon dioxide as a dangerous gas, and it's not. And the next year, the Obama EPA imposed what's become known as the endangerment finding, where they started regulating carbon dioxide. And they've used this is the underlying regulation from which they have used all these other regulations to systematically strip freedoms away from your viewers.
I have to really quickly ask you, was it the Obama administration or the Biden administration that had CO2 actually categorized as a pollutant?
Obama.
That's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
Well, 2008. I think.
That's Obama.
Obama. In 2009, the Obama EPA, and they've your viewers. When I tell you this, just bear with me. I'm very, very much pro-choice, very pro-choice. By that I mean your viewers should have the right to choose what kind of car to drive, what kind of light bulb to use, what kind of dishwasher to buy, what kind of washer and dryer to buy. Right. They don't have that freedom today. For example, washer and dryer. If you can't buy, the government says you have to buy what they're defining as an efficient dishwasher. By that, they mean it uses very little water and very little electric, which is a lot different than my wife's definition of an efficient dishwasher. Her definition is she wants a dishwasher that gets it clean and dry and ready to come out there in 45 minutes. Their definition is we're going to use a little bit of water, a little bit of electric, and it takes 3.5 hours.
Right.
And no, thank you. We should have the right to choose. And it was this endangerment finding that set us on this path. And in February and bear in mind, this endangerment finding, all of this house of cards that's been built up, all rests on the endangerment finding. And in February, Lee Zeldin and the EPA said, the endangerment finding is repealed. And when it was published in the Federal Record the same day, 18 environmental companies repealed or appealed the repeal. It was called the rescission of the endangerment finding. And then we decided, I went to my board and I said, this is tailor-made for us. We are the preeminent scientific organization. We need to get involved. And we did that. We got the top legal firm in DC, or actually in the country, that does this. It was the same legal team that won the landmark West Virginia v. EPA decision in 2024 that established the major questions doctrine. And this is a huge, the major questions doctrine was one of the huge rulings of the Supreme Court that'll be used forever, hopefully.
And what is it?
It says that if you can't make a regulation if it affects huge number, if it's a major question, it's beyond your regulatory authority. It has to come from the legislature.
Yeah.
Okay. And which is common sense, because they were using the regulatory authorities, DOE, EPA, Department of Transportation, all of these were just basically acting as an unelected legislator.
They were basically enacting laws, basically.
Yes. Right. And the major questions doctrine says, no, you can't do that. It has to come from the legislature if it's a major question. And so we got that team that won that case in 2024. They're really expensive. But I went to my board, and to their credit, they said, yeah, and I said, if not us, who? If not now, when? We have to move now. This is our moment in time. This is what we have to do. And they did. And, this year, our budget, we're way underwater. We don't, we had some money in reserve, and I said, it's not doing us any good sitting there. But this year we're well underwater with our budget. But
and when you're talking about these people being expensive, it's either millions or tens of millions, right?
Not if it goes to the Supreme Court. Yes, right now so we intervened in the case, and right now it's before the Court of Appeals in DC, and so that's many hundreds of thousands of dollars. And if it goes, it hopefully will be before the Supreme Court next year or soon after. And that now you're talking more, maybe not tens of millions, but a lot more.
Right.
Maybe you'll need to have me back on. I can plead for money, but what I'm telling you is there's nothing secret about this. It's all a matter of record.
Yeah.
Well, not the money being spent, but
what you specifically, are you guys fighting the appeal of these organizations?
We have it's called yes, we are. We're not fighting. We are in support of the EPA's repeal. And what we've done, there are about, I think, 6 or 8 others that have intervened, and they're all using a legal opinion of why this should be repealed. We're not. Our intervention is based on science and science alone. They're saying that when this was put into effect, they got the science wrong, and they didn't look at, there was another 24 case that says you have to look at all of the science, not just some if there's some parts of the science that made your decision that you didn't look at that was applicable, well, that's not constitutional. You have to look at all, and they didn't. And so we're providing the science. So hopefully our dream would be to argue the science before the Supreme Court in the next year or so.
Well, that's kind of a common theme running here, isn't it? I mean, the fact that a lot of the science is just quote unquote partial, right? I mean, going back talking about the inconvenient truth. I mean, it was partial science. They did all this on.
Yeah, well, it was not so much science though. It was partial. It was mostly lies and a little bit of science twisted around. He got everything. He had a big ladder, and he was showing how carbon dioxide and CO2 temperatures were being driven by, and it was just by CO2, and it's just the opposite. Was temperature was driving CO2, just the opposite.
Yeah, what
he was saying. So so I'm really proud that we're able to step forward and do this. And so if you're anyone watching this, we're actually doing something to help you and your children and your grandchildren and great grandchildren by stepping forward to do this intervention. And so, our organization is the CO2 Coalition.org. Yes, we do. We're a nonprofit. We take donations. And again, we've got a lot of people who have stepped up and helped us. And, we spend your money wisely. I'll say that.
I don't understand how the government could take one of the gases that's actually one of the premier existential things on the planet and call it bad. I just find that just hilariously amazing. I mean, every plant on the planet breathes CO2, and so you're going to say it's a pollutant.
Yeah, and one of the things that's funny, we hear so many crazy things about that are alarmist, and just about all of them. I roll my eyes, but the one that I got was that last year they said, well, climate change is going to make poison ivy much worse. And I looked at it, and first I said, that's another, but they're right. It will. It will, because CO2 is an equal opportunity fertilizer. Every single plant is going to benefit from more CO2 and more warming. So yeah, will poison ivy benefit, and maybe we'll have more of it? Yeah, but the competing plants also will be thriving and growing. So I was like, well, okay, that's one that I can agree with. But again, it's because of CO2 being a huge equal opportunity fertilizer. And one of the other things too, if I can just, one of the other, CO2 has been responsible for the greening of the earth, huge increases in vegetation. One of the things we've just learned, and I've just learned really, there was a recent study. So CO2 is responsible for about, I believe, 70% or so of this greening of the earth, of crop productivity. Another large percentage is warming, because it's extending growing seasons. Dr. Tim Ball in Canada, the late Tim Ball, documented in a paper that the boreal forests of Canada had moved north more than 100 kilometers since 1900. So we see this gradual increase. So temperature is great. And also the burning of fossil fuels, which is responsible for the increase of CO2 in the atmosphere, is also responsible for an increase in what's called reactive nitrogen. Nitrogen, of course, is hugely beneficial for crops.
Yeah.
That's what you put on your front yard, your backyard.
Right.
Mostly that's nitrogen.
Literally fertilizer.
Right, it is. But burning of fossil fuels puts reactive nitrogen into the atmosphere. So there's a natural increase of nitrogen that also adds to this greening of the earth.
Well, you do have to talk about this, because it's better coming from you than me. And that is how the world warming up is actually a net positive. And I haven't had a single scientist on here who does not admit the world is warming up. I mean, Patrick Stewart said, for 300 years, the world's been warming up. But he also said the smoking gun in that is that for the first half of those 300 years, there was no industrialization on the planet. It is absolutely right. But yeah, please explain how the world warming up is actually net positive.
Well, the easiest thing to look at would be growing seasons, which is huge. Since 1900, in the contiguous United States, growing season has increased almost 2 weeks. And in the Western United States, the growing season, northwest part of the United States, is increased almost 3 weeks. So that's huge. What does that mean? Killing frosts end earlier in the spring and arrive later in the fall. So we get more plantings in. If you've got an apple orchard in Minnesota, what do you fear the most? It's a late spring killing frost, isn't it? And because of warming and extending of the growing seasons, you'll still get them. We had a terrible one in Pennsylvania here this past spring, devastated the southern parts of Pennsylvania, large apple orchards and pears and fruit. But it's not going to. It lessens the chance of late spring killing frost, and that's probably the greatest benefit. And like I say, forests are expanding northward into
that's the other thing. The growing area expands, right?
Previous tundra, and also we see that this warming, it's helping countries that are from the hottest countries to the coldest countries. India if you look at their agricultural productivity, it's been just breaking records year after year, and they're one of the hottest countries on earth. And so the warming is helping them, along with more CO2, more nitrogen. It's a great story. Famine has become almost a thing of the past because of this. And more CO2 also means that crops are better able to resist drought. Plants are able to resist drought. And that's one of the reasons why deserts are shrinking. The Sahel and the southern Sahara has expanded by almost 200,000 square kilometers. And or not the desert has shrunk. So now what was desert is now grasslands and farmlands. Um, there's so many good things we could talk about, but and it could well be that um, increasing temperatures also increasing precipitation modestly, which is also a very good thing. A little bit too much water is better than a
Not
drought.
enough.
Right. And floods are not good, but still the greatest danger for precipitation are intense droughts. We
Yeah.
have droughts going on now uh, in the West, and we just got through with one here in Florida. Now it won't stop raining. So that drought, these tend to be cyclical, and some of just the worst droughts have occurred in the past.
Nothing's worse to me than the fact that people confuse climate and weather. They're completely different things. Weather's short term. Shit happens. You're not going to be able to predict when the hurricane comes. It's still, I don't know.
It is. And the other thing we talk about too is this uh, when starts getting cold, what we saw the most recent cold period was called the Little Ice Age. And it was one of the coldest periods of the last 10,000 years. It was
And it
horrific.
wasn't, relatively speaking, it wasn't that long ago. In fact,
Valley Forge was right in the middle. It was called the Maunder Minimum, coldest
right.
part. And we think about the freezing temperatures there, just horrific. But as we started going into this Little Ice Age, it started at around 1250 AD, and as it did, it started raining, and it wouldn't stop. It wouldn't stop. It's getting colder. It's getting colder. You can't. The farmers, and bear in mind, this is the 13th century. These are peasants. It's all hand dug with, and they're subsistence farmers. They could survive one bad crop or maybe two bad, but you can't, multiple. And they couldn't get the crops in the spring. And if they did, they couldn't harvest them in the fall because they were wet and they wouldn't ripen. And so it was just devastating famine. And so what we see as we got into the Little Ice Age was the same as we saw during the other cooling periods like the Greek Dark Ages and the Dark Ages. Each time we had crop failure, famine, pestilence, and mass depopulation. Bad things happened during cold periods. And the other warm periods were wonderful. They're just...
Yeah. Well, people don't talk about this anymore, but it really bears repeating that about up to even 80 years ago, there was basically not enough food on the planet. Now there's plenty. That happened in just 3 generations.
It is. There's a lot that goes into that. One was the agricultural revolution from Borland in the mid-50s. Started with India. Just agricultural productivity skyrocketed, and we've got warming. We got more CO2, and we got this a little bit of extra nitrogen. All of these things are we've got technical advances, but we don't, with the technical advance, if that's going to affect your agricultural productivity, you should see a step change when that new technology comes in. But we don't. We just see a gradual increase in agricultural productivity, which is reflective of something systemic that's increasing and getting better. And that the most likely culprit of the better agriculture, if you will, is increasing CO2 and warming temperatures.
I'm glad that you brought up positive stuff, because the problem is positive news does not make the news very often, because even with the internet age, it's still if it bleeds, it leads, so.
Yeah, fear is a great motivator, isn't it? It's one of the greatest motivators, and they've used it effectively. It's just a real shame, and that's our mission. That's our mission. And thank you for having me on. And and telling the truth. But it's our mission. How do we get this information out there? We created some 30-second ads that I was hoping to run nationwide, but that's a huge expense. And we just,
Yes.
I'd still like to do it. Or the CO2 Coalition, I'd love to see them do it. And it'd be great to have these 30. They're really effective ads. I'd like to run it, Fox News, ABC, put them on a football game. We did have a documentary that was released by Newsmax in March, and we aired it on during that documentary. So it's a challenge to get our message out there because we're being silenced. There's this notion of, you've heard of the 97% consensus. I'm sure all of your viewers have. There's 97% of scientists agree that it's man-made, dangerous climate change, and that's just not the case.
No, I know it's all made up.
Michael Crichton famously said, science is not consensus, and consensus is not science. We don't decide science with a show of hands or a vote. My favorite quote is the famous Richard Feynman, Nobel laureate in physics, and he said, "I would rather have questions." I'd rather have questions that can't be answered than answers that can't be questioned.
Yeah.
And we had that in COVID, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
We have it in spades with climate change. We are silenced, me and my colleagues at the CO2 Coalition, and it's difficult. If we can get our message out, it's game over for this climate industrial crowd.
I know.
Crowd.
I'm going to leave you with a really stupid story, which you probably think is ridiculous, but it's going to be humorous. I keep track of a lot of people who say they've been abducted by aliens, say that aliens tell them. And if I had time, I'd write a book on this because it's really fascinating. But several people, supposedly, these abductees have asked the aliens, what don't you like about our planet? And the universal answer is, it's so damn cold.
Well, this is one of the coldest times of Earth's history. We are.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, that's right. Right, I know, and I think that bears repeating. Either we're on the cold side, that's right, and people bitching about warming up. So I don't know, and that's the reason I brought that up. Gregory, I can't thank you enough for coming on here, and let's put your book on the screen again. And a very convenient warming. Excuse me. And your first book was a New York Times bestseller, right?
It was a bestseller on Amazon, yeah. And if you want to buy this book, just search for convenient warming, go buy it on Amazon. And I guarantee, I have a money back guarantee that your viewers will love it. And if they don't, they can come to my home in Apollo Beach, Florida, and I'll give them their $20 back.
Okay.
All right. I promise you will love it.
Good to know. Yeah. And I bet they will. I bet they will. Thanks for fighting the good fight. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
You take care. We'll see you. Our thanks to Gregory Wrightstone there, former executive director of the CO2 Coalition, for joining us. There's so much misinformation going around about everything. And the thing is why it's either to politically influence you or, and I would say even more often, simply to get money out of you, one or the other. This is completely off topic, or though it sounds like it, but no, I'm going to bring this full circle. I have said, the thing about UFO disclosure is a big topic among people reporting in politics right now about the fact that the president is probably, before the end of his term, going to announce the fact that the extraterrestrials are here. And I've said for years, the next thing you will hear is that the government needs several $1 trillion to fight an invasion of space aliens. And that will be bullshit, because I can tell you straight out, the people that are coming here, their technology is so advanced compared to ours that they can probably kill every human on the planet in 15 minutes. if they wanted to, there's nothing we can do. But the government will tell you they're going to need several $1 trillion to fight off this invasion, and it will be crap. It's just going to be another way to get money out of you, just like the climate change thing was, you know. So, I mean, you got to keep your vigilance up. This is Jimcast, the Jimcast for Tuesday, August 25th. I want to start here. I've been reporting on this for the last couple of weeks about this polling thing, about the fact that the polls for most of the primaries that have happened in the United States pre-midterm elections were completely off. So there's this guy named, and I reported on this last week, but just to fill in, his name is Raheel Prakash, and he's the guy who said he's 21 years old. He said he started this company called Median Strategies. Specifically, he's been out on this now. He's been talking to the press specifically to see if he could get fake polls into the press. And let me read his quote. He said, "I wanted to see if fake polls could really penetrate the ecosystem that easily. And as it turned out, they could." And he's right. So he put out polls saying that Abdul El Sayed in Michigan was going to win by 20 points. Same thing with Hong in governorship for Wisconsin. He was one of the people pushing this just to see if he could get in the press, and he did, even though he basically made a company up and didn't do a poll. He made up the results. So that's where we're at on the journalism front. And why are people doing this other than him, who basically did his experiment? Although I don't know. I mean, these were all Democratic polls he did. So maybe his secret agenda is to do this too, is to convince you that other people are voting a certain way. Well, geez, maybe I should too. That's the idea, you know. I don't know. It's just crazy. Don't vote. Don't vote whatever way you want. Do not listen to these people. Do not listen to the polls. And so, as it turns out, just to review, El Sayed won his primary by 1 point, less than 1 point, I think. And Hong lost the governorship primary of Wisconsin by less than 1 point. It was extremely close, even though both of these people were predicted to win by double digits. You know, and so along with this, I'm sticking to my prediction for the midterms in November. I think the Republicans will continue to hold the House and the Senate. It'll be by razor thin margins still. In other words, I don't think anything's really going to change. I think it's going to be almost exactly the same. And I'm correlating this with my backup is if the Democrats do take the House, it will be by just as slim a margin that the Republicans have now. It'll be literally only 2 or 3 seats. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. But that's what I'm saying. Meanwhile, David Schweikert, he's a Republican congressman from Arizona. He's responding to the arguments from the Trump administration. And Scott Bessent, the Treasury, has been saying this, that we have to grow our way out of this debt. Now, in one way, I agree with him in the sense that it's basically the only way we can get out of it. The landmark was last Thursday, 5 days ago, the national debt of the United States surpassed $40 trillion for the first time. That's accumulated debt. And Bessent is saying we have to grow our way out of it. Well, he's right in a sense that that's the only thing that's really going to work. But Schweikert points out, and he's a Republican, he points out the fact that we would have to have annual GDP growth of 7.7% just to keep up with the interest. See, we got a pickle on our hands here. This is not a good thing. So right now, in 2 years, over 50% of the federal revenues coming into the federal government, over 50% of our budget will be for 5 things: Social Security, Medicare, interest on the debt, Medicaid, and defense. That's going to take up 50% of the budget. And Schweiter's quote here, which is actually really cool, he says, "In many ways, your government is an insurance company with an army." And he's right. But the thing is, we can't. First of all, I can't remember. I don't know if we've ever hit 7.7 GDP growth. I don't know if that's ever happened ever. I mean, I think the most we've ever had is 5, and that's going back quite a ways. And we had 4 is in 2017, I think it was. I can't remember. We hit 4% growth. It was during Trump's first term. And that happened. When that happened, there were 15 of the most famous economists in the United States before Trump took office, while Obama was still president. They said that we would never have 3% GDP growth ever, that those days had passed. Because during Obama, we were pretty much getting 2, and so it was Trump doubled it his first year, but 7, no. But the thing is, and so that you've got these things they're basically entitlements. There's things we have to pay, and we're screwed. I don't know what to tell you, So my friend Murray Sabrin, who's been coming on the show for years, he's now predicting that around 2029 and by 2030 for sure, we're going to have a major economic crisis. He's even giving courses on this now. But there are people who can doubt that. But the thing is, something's going to happen at some point where this whole house of cards is going to fall down. And I don't know what it is, and I don't know when that's going to happen, but it won't be pretty at all, not the least bit. It's come out through declassified documents that there's a program that was set up regarding UFOs by the government called Kona Blue. And the reason this is important is because this is verified by declassified public documents now. The government set up a program to reverse engineer crashed extraterrestrial spacecraft. But here's the kicker. If they found it, in other words, they weren't acknowledging the fact this stuff already existed. This program was set up. If we find these things, if they crash on Earth and we find them, this program is to authorize money to reverse engineer them. The program is real. That's been verified. But the thing is, it's like, well, people say, why would you do this if it hadn't happened already? The program was set up on the assumption or the advice that these things would eventually crash on Earth. It's all kind of crazy. But the thing is, my point here, and this is what everybody's pointing to, the fact that the government, this program is real. And also, it was never implemented. This was a proposal to some congressional committee or something like that. But like I said, the government documents have been verified. These have been declassified, and they're available via the Freedom of Information Act. So the government was going to set up a program to reverse engineer crashed extraterrestrial technology if it crashed on Earth. Yeah. So what are you basically saying, that we want some money because it's already happened? Is that what you're saying? I don't know. I'll leave that up to you. It seems kind of weird. It's kind of weird. That's all I can tell you. Adult. Matter of fact, I have a picture over here. Adult content creator Skylar May, who works on OnlyFans. This is her right here. She's pretty cute. She's 23 years old. She makes $1 million a month over on OnlyFans. She's paying her parents, not because they ask, because she wants to. She gives them an allowance of $20,000 a month. So, yeah, and I'm bringing this up because last week I mentioned the fact that Shannon Elizabeth, the actress from American Pie, who's now in her 50s, she went on OnlyFans and she posted non-nude pictures of her just doing stuff, and she made $1 million in 9 days. And the only reason I'm bringing that up is because that short that we posted from my monologue on TikTok really took off. Because apparently people want to know that information. So I'm giving you more. So with a picture. Yeah. Skylar's really cute. Look at her. Nice legs too. A nice car, which apparently she can afford. So all you doofuses going off to work tomorrow, it's like, there you go. It's like, how come you didn't do that? And finally, I got to post this too. This is from the Babylon Bee, but I thought this was a great way to end this. And that is AI assistants starting to suspect its human might be a bit of a moron. Yeah, that's what's going to happen to you too. The computers are going to take over the world, man, and the robots. We're going to be working for them after a while. Who the hell knows? It's all crazy. It's a crazy world, folks. I gotta tell you. Now we had Gregory Wrightstone on today, and thanks to him on Friday. Yeah, last Friday I said we're going to do Monday and Thursday this week. We're doing Tuesday and Friday. So today's Tuesday. Duh. So on Friday we have Ken Abramowitz, the economist. He's going to be joining us. We can talk to him about this budget stuff and this deficit crap. And next Monday, our old friend Don Zorro comes back. That's going to be their last show before Labor Day. So he'll be joining us on Monday, and that's it. And then we're taking a little time off because we got things going on. I know it sounds like I'm joking, but I'm not. Actually, things are happening over here. So I'm happy to report that. So anyway, yeah, we'll see you on Friday, and that will be with Ken Abramowitz. It's his second time on the show, if I'm right. And of course, God, Don Zorro's been on at least a dozen times at this point, and people love him, and he's funny, and I love him too. So I want to thank you folks for watching. Please like or subscribe if you can. I got to throw that in. Really appreciate it. Yeah, the show does really well on TikTok, even though we don't run the live show on TikTok. It's crazy, but we're trying to do that. We're trying to work with TikTok to get. It's a technical issue mostly, but so we're trying to do that. But yeah, thanks to you folks on TikTok. I really appreciate it. I appreciate it, and get a lot of comments, and a lot of people think I'm nuts, and who could blame them? So anyway, we'll see you on Friday, folks. Good night, Uncle Donnie, wherever you are, and good night to you, wherever you may be. Thanks for watching, folks. We'll see you. Take care.